Well, hey everybody. Does everybody remember when I used to do the videos out here in the yard? It's hot. And I want to talk about something that is long overdue. We're going to talk about a few things, but I'm going to focus on one thing. When we see the world going crazy as we're seeing, as we're watching the minorities in the United States go on a rampage, demanding the removal of Robert E. Lee, the Confederate flag. We see people taking their cars and ramming people, or a van in Barcelona. And we see all this crazy stuff. Even Michael starts to realize, we're not safe. Even today, when I went to the rec center, I thought, what if some idiot walked into the locker room with a gun? Here we're all naked and showering, and somebody walk in there and start... You never know. What if somebody walked into the rec center with a gun with the pool full of children and senior citizens? It's not like you can run on a slippery, wet tile surface and get out of there in a hurry. The scenarios that could happen are horrific. I don't even want to think about it. And yet my mind now, more and more, whether it's in my bus or in a public place, I think if something happens, do you know your exit? Do you know what window you can break to get out? I would challenge every one of my viewers to keep your eyes open and think, not be morose and negative, but think, what if? Do you have an out? What about that person next to you? Can you grab that person's arm and say, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go, out? We have to start thinking that way. I'm going to be talking about church this morning because regardless of what people believe, I believe that there is one God. And when we see the world going the direction it's going, when we see people that are behaving like products of evolutionary belief systems, tearing up stuff, survival of the fittest, rebelling, whining, stomping their feet like little toddlers until they get their way, this is not the kind of behavior that you're going to see or should not see with people of faith. Because if I have faith in God, I believe that God's going to right the wrongs and God's going to take care of all this stuff, and He will. But when you're 51 years old and you've been divorced several times, when you have been trying to find what you cannot find in the United States, when we see what feminism has done to women, Michael needs something deeper than the shallow, superficial, materialistic, feministic, LGBT-pushing, evolutionistic ramming of the public education system. I need something to hold on to. So for me, it has been church. But I've got to tell you, I go through the motions of going to church. And I go through the motions of going to church because of what it says in the book of Hebrews in the Bible. Let us not forsake the assembling of ourselves together, as is the manner of some, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Listen, folks, we're seeing the day approaching, the day of the return of Christ. Hold that thought. Keep your mind on the ship. I mean the ball. Whoa, wait a minute. Is that cool or what? This was given to me, by the way. She said I could have it, so I'm going to clean it up and keep it. It's actually a sundial, if I can get this back on here. And the boat, if you set it up, the sail casts the shadow on the numerals. I went to church this morning, and I'm sorry. I've already admitted to you, Sundays are my days of kind of down days. And I'll tell you why. I talked to a woman in the Philippines, and I like her. She's a very nice person. She's mature. She works. She has 2 kids. I talked to a lady from India. I like her too. She's single, has no kids. And I will tell you something right now. Her climate in the place she lives is absolutely perfect for Michael. The Philippines is too dang hot. It is too sweaty hot. Her place in Shillong stays this time of year in the 60s, maybe 70s, low 70s. They said they don't need air conditioning there. They get lots of rain. And the 3 months of winter, they get no rain. It's green, it's beautiful, and the climate is perfect. Their air is clean, their water is clean. It's a very clean place. And Michael knows that God could do the impossible. But Michael's also been through this before. Everybody says, you should move to Asia. If only it was that easy. So I talked to my friend in India, who I have a very strong interest in, because she's intellectual, she's kind, and then I go to church. I take my mile walk around the lake, just north of here. I don't make eye contact with people, because it just doesn't seem to pay. I go to church, young couples sit in front of me, sit behind me. And I don't know what's going on, but the guy with the beard, with his young, they're in their late 20s. And all through the service, she's sitting there doing the jiggle. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. She doesn't have any problems. She started out in the worship doing that, and the greeting time came. And this is normal, but I'm in the pew by myself, or the row of seats, I should say. Turn around and greet one another. There's nobody in front of them. They turn and don't greet me at all. They don't even look at me. They go to the row behind me. A blonde woman is standing behind me who's young. I turn around to shake her hand. She pivots. And I'm like, one woman greeted me, an older, heavy-set woman. Says, hi, how are you this morning? Great, I'm great. I listened to Pastor's message, and it was the reason Jesus came. It actually didn't seem to have anything to do with the reason why he came. He talked about things, and it was interesting that he says, I just want to talk briefly about the hate that went on, and he got the wrong state, Charlottesville, North Carolina. He says, racism's not acceptable for us as Christians. End of story, period. And we just need to show the love. We just need to be different as Christians. And I'm thinking, I'm sorry, call me critical. I'm thinking, Pastor, could you elaborate? And what does it look like to show love? What does it look like when the black community in America is banging on white people and saying that we're the racist ones when they're not looking at their own racism? What do we do when we have a group of people all of a sudden who weren't bothered before, but now all of a sudden are in a rage and want all the Confederate stuff taken down? When Al Gore and President Clinton ran a campaign on a Confederate flag with the poster that said Clinton Gore 92, not one outcry from the black community, not one outcry from the feminists, not one outcry from all these, liberal losers that voted for him back then. Now those are the same people screaming and yelling about the removal of these things. When an American young man brings a Confederate flag, stands there in Charlottesville, saluting it in a public place, and men and women, not real men, coward men, the ones that look like they ate too many granola bars, don't cut their hair at all, they look like a bearded heathen mess, and a woman with dark hair, looks like a yuppie middle class, is standing there in a fixed position like this, in front of this kid, who's standing there saluting the flag, saying, my father or my great-grandfather was in this war, and this isn't just about slavery. Most people don't support slavery, even in the South today. Most people agree that it was wrong, it needed to end. People have the reasons for liking Robert E. Lee and their Civil War generals. And I admit, I used to get caught up in my ignorance and think, why are they flying the Confederate flag in Georgia if it's such a racist symbol? And then I learned it was actually a symbol of being against government oppression. It was not a symbol to support slavery. But that's what the media is telling us. But Michael goes to church, and I hear one of those sermons that doesn't challenge the stinky and stale, day after day behavior of those in our own country. White women, white men, too comfortable, coming to church with their Starbucks cup of coffee. Girls take off their shoes, curl up their feet on their chair, play with their hair, play with their phone, look at their nails. I'm like, I'd love to hear a pastor address this. And I've told people, there's no depth to Denver culture if you're into SUVs, if you're into Broncos football, if you're into Starbucks and you worship your dog, you're in. If you don't do that, well, too bad. There's always the bar, but if you don't drink at the bars, well, you're SOL. And those of you in America know what that acronym stands for. I'm trying to clean up my language. I go to church and I come out and I go, this really is a waste of my time. I get nothing out of it. But many people over the years are criticizing the churches because they think that they are departing from the true faith, which they are. And the comment is made by leadership, well, you only get what you put into it. What am I supposed to put into this? I hear the same cheesy 7-Eleven courses week after week with a young guy that they're paid staff that's our paid worship leader that we brought all the way from California to lead us in silly, baby songs that we really needed a skilled person to teach us how to sing these things. I'm sorry. Michael is not getting what he needs here. And everybody says, go to another church. I've gone to a bunch since 2012. The story is always the same. What I find in our churches today, in our American culture today, is something that was shared with me by the lady from India. Before I chatted with her, I sent a friend request to her because I thought she was pretty. I thought she was Filipino. She started watching my videos and she said, man, I like this guy. He's real. He's honest. I'm going to make it clear that being real and honest in the United States is not considered an asset. Corporate America does not teach that. Corporate America says put on your suit and tie, get your college degree, and hide behind all of your insecurities and put up that suit and tie front. How are you today? I'm doing well. Liar. That model has followed into the church. Don't let people get close to you. Don't be real. And that guy wearing the chain behind us, don't talk to him. He might be strange. People don't take the time to get to know each other unless you're exactly like them. If I was to pull up in a brand new Subaru Forester, everybody go, wow, I really like your car. Oh, wow, yeah, isn't that cool? Nobody has one of these. I made this all myself, right? This is how stupid our culture has become. This is how shallow our culture has become. We look at somebody, that's a nice car. Why are we telling that guy that's a nice car? You could save the money and go buy the same dang thing yourself. As if he's so cool because he's got that car and you have to tell him that and inflate his little ego. Yeah, isn't it cool? I have it. We need to get perspective. I'm not saying cars and stuff are bad, but I'm saying we're living in a day where we should have graduated past this elementary thinking processes. It's a car. Big deal. And if you really look at people who have that nice car, that's probably all they think about. All they think about. My life is too broad for that. I'm like a diamond. I'm multifaceted. I'm not one-dimensional. And I've started to see that Lakewood, this culture, one-dimensional. It is the same Sunday after Sunday when I walk around the lake. Women that will not smile, look at me, acknowledge me, and then they'll turn and baby talk their dogs. And then when somebody else has a dog, they'll stop and they'll go, "Isn't your doggy cute? Oh, thank you." And they just get an orgasm over this. I was at the store yesterday, and I watched a woman who was wearing a black, sleeveless, slinky outfit. Brunette. She had her ball cap on, had her ponytail pulled through the back of the ball cap. I've learned to do what women do. Women do the scan on us men. I don't know if you guys know what the scan is. Scan is they will glance in your direction, then they will assess you, judge you in that 30-second or less scan. Boom, boom, done, on a shelf in their little compartmentalized mind. I've learned to start doing that. So I watched this woman. I watch her get out her pocketbook. I look at her face and how taut it is. Oh, it was at Safeway this morning. I'm sorry, I went and got my Boulder chips with Himalayan pink salt and rice bran oil. Boulder's making some interesting potato chips, and I must say they're good. And the cheapest place to get them is not at the health food stores, but at Safeway, where they're $2, $1 to $2 a bag cheaper. So I buy them there when they're on the sale. This woman was good looking. She was brunette, but I looked at her. I thought, she's not happy. She has that rest me bitch face. She is very fake and curt to the cashier. "Thank you." And I see her grab her stuff and put her stuff away, and she walks out. And I thought, that is not a happy woman. And yet guys will look at her, "Oh my gosh, she's a massive babe." I don't do that anymore. I go, "No, she's not a massive babe. She's a massive liability, dude." And once again, because of the wonderful world of online, I get the privilege of meeting people overseas. And it just deepens my pain to realize I will not find that here. At all. But what really bothers me is to go to church. As a Christian, it is my express belief, based on what I understand of the Bible, that the church is supposed to be an organism, not an organization. That for the Christian, church should be the high apex point of his or her week. That in the church you should have true family of God, not singing the song, "I'm so glad I'm a part of the family of God." We sing that. And most of the people in church don't acknowledge you, don't have anything to do with you. And as I've said before, I've had to learn by rote experience, don't confess your sins to everybody. You'll pay for that. You take your stuff to God. Unless you've wronged an individual and you must go to that individual to seek their forgiveness or reparations, do not. Use wisdom in who you go to. Don't listen to the church's drumbeat of accountability. Get in these small groups and be accountable. No, you stand back and watch these people to see if they're real before you get involved with them. Because I'm going to tell you, it is my experiences in the church setting in America that more often than not, people want to control Michael Nelson, but they don't want me to have any input into their lives. If I understand church correctly, we should have people that we can be an influence to each other. An equality sort of thing. When somebody's trying to control you and make you come around to their way of thinking, you need to run. That's not fellowship and that's not accountability. We don't go to church so that we can sit under a bunch of people that are going to dominate and you have absolutely no influence on them. God has given me gifts. And one thing I've noticed in church is I want to go up and say, Pastor, I'm sorry to be rude, but could you sit down? I'm going to speak the message. You want to be led by the Holy Spirit. I have a burning in me when I watch the way the people are in here, and I'm going to say something that's probably going to clear out this church the first service. But do you want people to grow and change, or do you want to just keep coddling this garbage and foolishness? I'm going to say something, viewers, so you might want to plug your ears, because this is going to sound like it is sacrilegious. It is not. I get more depth out of a personal orgasm than I do going to church on Sunday morning. Legatus Lanius would have had fun with a statement like that. One of the things that is going to be instrumental in any of us conquering the sin in our lives is having a support group of caring people that allow you to be who you are. Don't condone your sins, but allow you to be the unique individual you are and love you and pray for you. Don't preach and push, but love and want to help you. To where when you're hurting, you can go into a church and say, I had a rough week. This traffic is driving me nuts. People are so rude. And you can go to church and have an hour to 2 hours of utopia and feel like, my gosh, I don't want to go. Let's all just go over to Golden Corral together as a group and have lunch. Let's make this day last. I want to fellowship with the saints. But no, when I get out of church, I want to get out of there and get in my truck and leave. There's something wrong when I get more stimulation at the rec center with a bunch of people that are not in the faith and have good, pleasant conversations with some of those people. And then I go to church and I go, what am I doing this for? American culture has changed. And I'm sorry, even my preacher, nice guy, his sermons are okay, but preachers aren't addressing the females. They're not addressing the comfortable, cliquey, just the stagnant stupid that's going on. Michael gets depressed because the reality hits me. Tomorrow's the first day of school. I get in a bus. And work is good for me. It gets my mind off things. I like to be out there. When news happens, I hear it quickly. We have a two-way radio. If there's major car crashes or freeway shutdowns, we get all that. And we got a TV going in the break room. Anything that's breaking, it seems like every day it's breaking news. Because of the instability of human beings, and especially in the United States, I want everybody to realize, expect this stuff to escalate. Expect people to do more of this. Expect people who are burnt out, bored of life to start going, you know what? I'd kind of like to get attention doing something wicked. This is what we're in today, folks. Keep your eyes open. You may save a life. You may see something and can warn people. Watch out when you're crossing streets. Watch for those cars that suddenly accelerate. You need to be aware of your surroundings today. I'm tired of fake church culture. I'm tired of churches where you feel guilt trip after guilt trip, but they're not guilting people who need to be guilted. I'm tired of going to churches where they talk about knocking off the sin and cleaning up your life, but there's no incentive by the people you're with. One of the things a woman from India taught me that I like very much, she says, Michael, you're alone. You don't have that in your life. She goes, I have a family, my mother, my brother, my sisters. She goes, you don't have that. She goes, you don't have a wife that understands you. And I told her, yeah, I look at things on the internet I shouldn't. Nude pictures of women. Now this is a switch. She doesn't condone sin, but she says, why are you hard on yourself? You're alone. And I'm not the only one. Many of you guys on my Facebook have the same thing. We all see what feminism's doing to the women out here. We all see it. We've been made to feel like we're not worthy and we don't deserve that good-looking white girl. Actually, folks, you need to start retooling your minds. They don't deserve us. They don't see that. But stop putting yourself down. Be honest about your faults. And churches, including the one I'm going to, I'm not going to go in there and open up and get chummy with those people. I've been there a year. There's never been anybody in there that says, you know, I don't know who you are, but I'd like to get to know you. That used to happen when I went to Calvary Chapel and this is a Calvary Chapel offshoot that I'm attending now. When I went to a church in Arizona, I hooked up with the 20-something-year-olds, and we all, man, I had guys come over to my house. Guys, a couple of girls would sit around the table, play cards. We'd go get in our trucks and cars and go up to the mountains in Prescott and light a big old campfire, roast hot dogs and marshmallows, and talk about God. I can't find people like that today. As things get worse, viewers, we're going to have to get closer to God. And we're going to have to forge relationships with people who want that same ideal. You have to have a relationship with somebody that you know they've got your back. And I'm not talking about those of you that won't get work and want to leech off other people. No. Where somebody can come to me and say, Michael, I'm having a problem. I need you to pray for me. You got it. You got it. When my closest relationships are with people I've never even met face to face that are here on an internet forum, when a gentleman in Michigan who trains to fight says, I get something out of your videos, they give me sanity. That's why I keep doing this. When a woman in India tells me that she listens to my videos and she says, I reason what I've heard you say. When I was talking to her this morning, I would stop and I would look at her. I mean, not 2 seconds. And she'd go, Mike, talk. I said, what I want to hear you. She's shy. She wants me to talk. Now, come on, folks. Can I be honest? Here in the U.S., not too many people want to hear me talk, especially when I say what I need to say. I'm just being honest. Americans have a different way of looking at things. She said, you have a gift of speaking. She says, you're honest. You speak from the heart. Isn't that the way Christians are supposed to be, brothers and sisters? I believe, yes. When we have churches today that are plastic, that are fake, where people won't even, where white women that are single, or even the ones that think that they're too good to turn around and say, good morning, sir, how are you? I'm going to say something. There's something wrong with a church like that. Now, I'm not blaming our pastor. He just stepped into that because our young pastor left to go pastor a church in Vail. But I want to make it very clear to my viewers that if we don't get what we need from the church, this is often what happens. We look for things in the wrong places. I'm going to tell you that my biggest struggle has been not having a group of good, solid people that I really enjoy getting with. I've been around certain Christians that I was friends with, but they just wanted to be like the Holy Spirit police force. And it's like, you know what? I don't want that. I don't want to be around a bunch of people. Did you masturbate? Did you lust? None of your business, dude. I don't want to be around that. If that's what it means by being accountable, forget it. What I want to be is around a bunch of people that actually know what the meaning of love is, love and care for you without an agenda, without motives, without trying to control you, who actually like me for who I am and I like them for who they are. We're talking friends, male or female, in a church setting. Michael has already proven to his viewers I was willing to go halfway around the globe thinking I had found the love of my life, only to have it blow up in my face. The fact is, Michael would do it again. Because since then I've learned a lot. Just in talking to the Filipina in Mindanao and to the woman in India, neither one of them had exhibited the horrible, absolute crazy behavior that the woman I pursued in Hong Kong did. She showed signs online. Neither of these two gals have showed any of that. The one in the Philippines, I chat with her. I like her very much. I cannot have her because I could never make a life in the Philippines and make a living financially. She has 2 kids. Michael doesn't want children. She's beautiful. She's beautiful. She's sweet. She's a good-hearted woman. The one in India? She's single. She's no kids. She lives in a climate that's perfect. In a dream, if God opened the door for me to go do that, I'm in. But reality teaches, Michael, you don't live in a Disney fairy tale. Face reality. Do I still want to go see her? Absolutely. But when I look at what's going on, I think, my gosh, what could happen between now and that time? What could happen between now and next year? All of us need a base to operate out of. For the Christian, we need to have a connected group of believers that love us as friends and care about us. And I'm afraid that too much Christianity in the U.S. is everybody faking themselves to look like, act like, sound like, but this is lacking. I've been to churches that are all about dotting their I's. I went to a church just down about a mile from here, and it's all Bob Jones University graduates. Bob Jones University is very caught up in outward form, formalism. Don't do this, don't do that. Dress this way, dress for success. I explained to my lady friend in India, I don't trust people with suits and ties. I don't trust the dress for success crowd. They're the ones that got America in 2008, the subprime mortgage scandal disaster, which resulted in a very bad recession. Suits and tie people often sell cars at a dealership and sell you a lemon saying, oh, it's a great car. And as soon as you pay for it and you bring back to them the problems, sorry, buddy, sorry. When corporate America tells us to get on the phone with a customer calling in about problems with their phone, I'm sorry. I know that can be really frustrating for you, but really, they don't care. Is the church supposed to be that way? Somebody's struggling, and what do church people tend to do? Oh, he must have brought it on himself, or she must have. And there are those people that they're the constant chronic complainers about their woes, and you look at them and go, gee. But church today has become like the world around us. The internet has also caused some problems. It's made us look through the window into countries that the reality is there's immigration barriers, there's geographical barriers, there's cultural barriers, and we're all looking out our porthole. Oh my gosh, I want that. And we can't have it. God can do anything. But oftentimes God leaves us to face our reality and doesn't wave the magic Disney wand and take us to what we so desperately desire. He has his reasons for that. I just think it sucks when you go to a church and you go there for a year and I've made not one close friend. And I've shut down inside. I said, I don't even want to get close to these people. When the greeting time, they can't even turn around and greet you. These young, narcissistic millennials and even the 20, 30-year-olds, they're not the same as we are, folks. In America, they're narcissists, they're spoiled brats. All these girls, even the ones that have their boyfriend or their husband next to them, you watch them in the service because they're a distraction. They sit right in front of me, playing with their hair, doing everything to draw attention to themselves. I'm like, how much of the sermon are they even listening to? And this is not heavy theology. This is milquetoast, what I'm hearing. I mean, this is Melba toast for babies type stuff. It's like, gosh. But I've also been to churches that churn out solid theology. But I've been around those people too. The stalwarts, the 60, 70, 80-year-old men. I believe in the pre-tribulational rapture. I believe in the post-trib. Well, you're in this arguing going back and forth. Now, I believe in the pre-tribulational rapture. For those that want to know what that is, it's the belief that God is going to come and remove the church from the earth before the 7-year tribulation in the Bible. But I've been around those old people. They're grumpy, they're crabby, they want to have the same argument and the same discussion. They don't love or care about anybody. They got their retirement, they got their comfy homes, and a guy like me walks in, so what? We're forgetting something, folks. And they'll know we are Christians by our love. And I'm sorry, the pastor before the one I have now in this church said, I heard it, just fake it until you make it. That's a real good philosophy to live by, isn't it? We got all this stuff in our heart and we're supposed to pretend, and as Mr. Rogers, the world of make-believe. Is that what the Bible tells us? I was playing for the lady from India, John Michael Talbot and Randy Stonehill, two good Christian music writers and song singers. Their music is based on scripture. Their music is simplistic. And I played her a sampling of Skillet, and she immediately shook her head. I said, this is what they're playing in our churches. Not the two songs I gave you by Stonehill and John Michael Talbot, but this stuff. And I said, it does not cause me to worship. It irritates and agitates me. And I go, man, when is this going to be over so I can calm down? She goes, yes, that's right. She's a woman of peace. She says she goes outdoors to hear God and to talk to him and to get away from the traffic. She goes, even though I love the house here, I get away because you hear the horns. And even when I'm talking to her, India is just like China. Beep. I mean, that's all you hear in the background in some of those Asian countries. Randy Stonehill had some good music. I realize that's a subjective opinion, but I can hear still small voice that's whispering, I am. John Michael Talbot. You are my hiding place, oh Lord. Now you go to church today, the music isn't even as deep as that was. The evolution of Christian music started off with some pretty good stuff, and then it went into this cheesy, superficial, redundant, repetitive, trite courses that if you actually listen to some of them, the theological content of them is wrong. Some of you in my Facebook have been a community for several years now. I do everything I can to preserve that. Just so you know, there's a few of you, Laidlow, Brody, Luther, Halleck, Beck, those are some of the guys. Zariski. And then there's the women, and I'm not going to call them out simply because I don't want them to feel bad. but it's a compliment. There's a few of you women in here in the United States that are in my Facebook, that even some of you that aren't Christian, per se, you have something to give. You have some intelligence and some kindness, and some of you have your boyfriends or your husbands, and there's no romantic feelings for me to them, but they're just good, stable-minded women to talk to. There's actually a few left in America, yes. I confess to you, I wish I was multiple millionaire. Immigration's not a problem. File the stupid paperwork, say, I'm going here, and I'm going to get to know this woman, and if things work, I'm just going to take her as my wife, and this is where we stay. I wish. But yes, I get lonely. And loneliness, Michael is admitting, has caused me to do things that sometimes I go, what the hell was that I just did? Regret, a momentary fit of passion, misplaced passion. I really think that a lot of the LGBTQ community, that a lot of that, if people are honest, some of that's also happened because our culture alienates, because people didn't have proper relationships with their parents, proper relationships with their ministers or their pastors or their churches or other people, and they finally said, you know what, I'm not getting it here. So then they said, well, maybe I'll go for same sex. That's why you have a lot of beautiful women who aren't nasty, mean, man-hating feminists, but women who've told me, I want a girlfriend. Now, guys are different. When it comes to guys can have a bi-curiosity, but really when you get into gay men, a lot of your gay men, they're gay, and they had no interest in females. But a lot of men that I meet that have had a bi-curiousness, they said it came as a result of, A, somebody putting designs on them, or the other one I'm hearing a lot is a growing number of men that are married to a battle axe at home, or men that have been ignored, passed over, and snubbed by American women. I've had men sit down and tell me, I'm not gay, but sometimes I get this horny desire to be touched by a guy because I need relief. This is not something you're going to hear discussed in our churches today. If Michael, who's a Christian, has a struggle with loneliness, how much more those out there who don't know God? They don't know what to do with it. I've been guilty of trying to fill holes in my life with the wrong stuff. Michael, because all I knew was our culture and our way, I got hot and heavy with women in the past that I wasn't in love with, but they were loose. I did some, and I woke up the next day going, what did I just do that for? I'm not into her. She and I would never make a good couple. I don't want her sitting next to me. What am I doing? The church in America has got to get a grip. The church in America has got to start genuinely putting out real love, care, and affection, and we need to help people in a way to where we love and care for them, not just do it out of duty. And this is what we've become. Everything is plastic. Everything is superficial. Horn. Somebody cut somebody off. I don't know if you can hear it through here, but the traffic out here on Sunday, heavy traffic. 4 lanes. It's 40. They're going 50 or more. Yes, folks, our world is changing fast. God is our anchor. God is our only anchor. But it helps if we have people, a support group of people. It helps if we have churches where when you walk in, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say something. I read stories about the old churches way back in the day with you go in and the furnace is on and it's nice and toasty in there. People are welcoming and warm, and people didn't want to leave. What happened to that? Where people prayed for each other and cared for each other and loved each other. And Bob, you haven't been at church for a long time. We missed you. And where Bob says, man, I feel it. I feel that you really missed me. And yeah, I don't want to go back out into that cold, wicked world and do the things I did. If you want people to overcome sin, stop telling them to stop it and start giving them the love and the warmth they need. And they might say, you know what? It's like a kid when he finally throws off his diaper and says, Mom, I'm not wearing this anymore. Give me my underwear. The same thing's going to happen to us if we're in the right environment where people are so warm and you go, you know what? I'm tired of drinking this or smoking this or doing, I'm done with it. People in America fail to realize that this, and I did this the other day, I talked about in a video, there is no such thing as independent, and there is no such thing as Lone Ranger Christianity. I know, I've tried. Not the independent thing, but the Lone Ranger. I can't be independent. I depend on my mechanic when my truck needs repairs. I depend on a whole bunch of people all the time to get things done that I can't do. I depend on people to fix the traffic lights so that it governs the intersections, because now you have a traffic light out and guess what people do? They just blast right through at a high rate of speed. I'm like, excuse me, you're supposed to treat that as a four-way stop. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I need to quote to myself Einstein's quote. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. If I keep going to church and getting depressed, it's time to say, find another 9 o'clock service somewhere and ditch this. And keep going. At least expose yourself to different people, different faces, and a different preacher. Even if you got to do it every Sunday. Find a place to go. Get out of here. I had a thought today. You'll laugh. Why don't you start something? And I said, oh no, not in Colorado. I want to make it very clear. I have my finger on the pulse here. Nobody would come to listen to me here. You're not going to find pretty white women or GQ guys or guys that got it together. They're going to come and sit in a church and go, you know what? I'm glad you're telling it. You're not going to get that. Most of the people that started churches here appealed to them with the Christian rock music, and they were popular, had a following anyway. And people are into superficial light, L-I-T-E. Michael is not. And when people online are attracted to Michael because I'm honest and I'm real, even to a fault about my faults, you don't dare do that to an American woman. You tell an American woman your past, oh, I've been divorced, I've been, I've done this, I've struggled with, oh, they're done, they're done. And I'm sorry, but I find that women overseas are more tolerant of my mistakes because when they get to know me, they go, wow, you didn't have a family that loved and cared. You didn't have an environment that loved and cared. You live in a culture of America that's materialism, narcissistic, me-centered, and then here comes a Michael Nelson who's real and honest, and people out there look at me like, you're weird. I am weird because Americans are faking it, hoping that they'll make it. And I don't think that Jesus Christ died on a cross to make us fakes or flakes. Isn't that cool? It's a Boit. It's a toy Boit. This thing is solid cast iron. Heavy. Oh. Don't have air horns on a sailboat, do we? That's fun. So that's my thought for Sunday. In a nutshell. This is Pacific signing off. See ya.